have to understand about me, I'm the only girl in a family of 6 children. So I have 5 brothers.
Explains a lot.
Explains a lot, right? And my dad is Asian, so my dad is Indian. So it's quite unusual that my dad was very sort of focused on the girl in the family and always taught me that I could do whatever I wanted to do and it was all up to me and I was equal to the boys sort of thing. So I think that's been very influential in my life and in my business career. And I think, people say, well, you don't get fazed by it. It's like, it's used to it. It's just like being at home. It's no different to me.
Yeah, I can imagine. I have 3 sons, so I can imagine being a girl among a lot of boys would be a testing of your personality.
Well, you learn to stand up for yourself or not. That's sort of the way it is, sort of thing. And you learn to sort of try and get your voice heard, otherwise you just get overridden by them. And the other thing you learn is don't be scared of spiders.
Because they, funnily enough, end up everywhere.
If you let them know you were scared of spiders, it would be a nightmare.
In your shoes, in your pillowcases, I can imagine.
Absolutely. I learned not to do it.
I guess for me, my parents were both school teachers, so they had no knowledge or idea about sort of work and commerce. So I think my influences have been people who I've worked with, a number of different people over the years who I've learned different things from the merits of organisation and focusing on people management. The first guy I worked with when I was a management consultant when I first started out, through to how to get the best out of creative people when I worked in the music industry, through to somebody like Dawn Airy when I worked in television, who was a very inspirational sort of front person for the company and was all about setting a vision and making sure everybody was aligned to that one vision and then driving the whole company towards it. So I think I wouldn't say there's been one person, because expectations of the client will be very different in different markets. It has to be horses for courses, but within the structure of a kind of overall global point of view, where people understand what it is that we're all collectively trying to achieve, but then they're focused day to day on delivering for their local client, because that's where the key relationship is going to be for them. It's
one of those great things about working in a global sort of business, though, isn't it? That you don't sort of learn and you don't grow up thinking that there is only one solution to things. You always think, well, I know this country does it this way, this country does it this way. You think there are lots of different solutions to the same problem. You've always got that little sort of file in your head that says, well, okay, we can't do it that way, but in so-and-so country, this is how we solve it.
And I think that's also, how you learn new tricks. You learn from people and how they've approached problems and how they've solved issues. And then you can also start connecting them to each other, so that you say, well, have you talked to so-and-so in Australia, because they've had exactly the same kind of problem and they've got about it differently. I also think the other thing you learn kind of maybe as you get older is you also learn to be very clear about what you don't know as well as what you do know. And I think in any global organisation, if you ever try and give the impression you have all the answers, it's not credible, because our business is too complicated, it's too diverse. The range of what we do even for the same client across lots and lots of different countries is so different, and local conditions are so different. You can't sit in the centre and hand out tablets of stone with the answer. It just doesn't work like that. You have to be very much more collaborative, I think, in how you come to the right solution.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you build also a network of people that you share with.
Yeah.
So although you know people in every single office, you build a little internal group that you think, if I just want to check that idea, I know somebody. And Mindshare, I mean, I've been in it since it began, so I've been in it since sort of 98, so I really am a sort of a founder of it. When we set this up, everybody thought we couldn't do this, right? Everybody thought we were going to fail. Everybody was against us. So Mindshare grew as a company that was good at helping each other. That's what we did, because nobody else believed in us. Nobody else thought we could do it. Nobody else was going to help us. So it made us be a company that helped each other. That was always part of the premise.
Yeah. I'm very much the other end of the spectrum. I've been here a year and a half, so I'm a relative newcomer. And one of the things that was very clear to me from the beginning was the fact that culture is still very much in evidence, and both within you know, the global team in London, but equally wherever you touch out in the network, if you approach somebody, if you talk to somebody, you know, if you make the effort to reach out, there's always a positive response, and you never get a sense of, why are you asking me that? Why should I help you? What's in it for me? You never get a sense of that. Whereas I have worked in companies where that is the case, and where there's, you know, where sort of knowledge and expertise is guarded in the sense of, you know, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
You very much get the sense I've had from the beginning in Mindshare that knowledge is not power for me, it's power for us collectively. And it's about how that can get then socialised and shared very easily and very quickly and very openly, which is a fantastic thing to be able to tap into, because there's no question you can't answer, because somebody will know the answer. You just and you just literally can go and ask.
Yeah,
I've got this
is the thing.
I need.
Find the right person.
Yeah, and then somebody will be able to tell you who that person is. And the benefit of a big global organisation of this size and scale is that probably isn't any question that can't be answered by somebody somewhere.
Yeah, we always know the answer. We always know several
Nick
different
always
ways.
knows the answer.
But yeah, Nick always knows the answer. I forgot that bit. But you know, we've always solved it somewhere, and it's fantastic when we have a big success. You know, like we did recently, about how people react to that, how everybody is sort of enjoys that success, even if they're not the office that is part of the win.
Yes.
That's fantastic, right? That is real sort of company spirit.
And I saw that, I mean, when we announced the result on the Unilever pitch, I was totally unprepared for the kind of avalanche of emails that came in. I mean, I think I stopped counting after about 250.
Yeah.
And of course, the amusing thing was that because Nick had copied the announcement to Martin Sorrell, and people replied all, he got every single one of those emails as well. And we called his office and said, is this a problem? And they said, actually, no, he actually likes to see that. He likes to see the genuine emotion and passion and support of the network, because that's what we do it for. You know, all of the other stuff at the end of the day is about that moment. And as you say, I mean, I had emails I remember one from Peru, the Peruvian dog. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
The Peruvian dog was celebrating, and we don't have the business in Peru.
Yeah, it's brilliant, right? And our people have sort of grown up with that culture, you know, and Dominic was very much a part of sort of setting that up as the environment and the culture with which we have always operated. And I think it's much more so in Mindshare than any other agency. And I really believe it's because of the way we grew, the way we started, and it was always, we're family and we're all going to help each other and we're all going to do stuff.
Yeah.
And probably our sort of client base helped that happen as well, because we had so many clients that were global.
Yes.
You know, we immediately had something that we had to talk to each other about, and that created a culture as well.
Yeah. Well, certainly, I mean, I brought somebody in to the organisation about 6 months ago to manage the relationship with Unilever in Europe. You know, and he's worked at Stockholm, he's worked at Cara, he's worked in a whole bunch of different agencies, and his feedback was very much, you know, I've never seen a network that operates as effectively and as in such a together way as this one. Yeah. You know, it genuinely happens. There's a lot of lip service in this business, paid to network. You know, everybody talks about the network effect, and it's kind of standard pitch fodder. But his, you know, genuine feedback was, well, it really is.
For me, I've watched it grow from a business plan. So there were no people, there was no building, there was Dominic and his secretary. And they went, Dawn, do you want to come and do this? I was like, yeah, that looks like a challenge. Yeah. You don't very often get to build something sort of completely from scratch, right? The whole business, blank sheet of paper, it didn't exist anywhere in WPP. Somebody just gave you the sort of ability to go and build something and put it together across the world. And it's amazing now to stand back and look at it and think, God, yeah, you know, I've been part of doing that. That's been a great thing to do.
So what keeps you here?
It feels personal. It feels like it's, you know, it's mine. You know, it's very, very hard. I mean, I've been offered chances to walk away from it and go somewhere else and either A, try and do that again, or B, join something that exists. But whenever I've got to the stage of talking to them, you find what you said before, that there isn't really that same relationship and camaraderie in terms of the network. It doesn't exist. they're too busy fighting each other, they've got their own politics, they're not really working together to solve a problem for a client. And I think that would really sort of get on my nerves. I've got used to this culture of we can be quick, we can be fast, we can make decisions, and we try to do something that's good for the client.
Yeah.
You know, we have that. That's our goal. How do we do the best thing so that this client wants to stay with us and wants to move forward with us? How do we do that? So,
but how do you think over the 15 or so years that you've been at the heart of Mindshare, how have you seen what clients want, these? How have you seen that change?
Well, I was thinking about it the other week. It's quite interesting. The biggest shift is about sort of trust and long-term view. Clients used to come to you with their problem and say, right, this is a problem with my business, this is what I need to do, this is how I need to grow, this is the markets I need to influence in order to move forward. And they came to you and worked with you to define what that bigger problem was, and then we'd work out how to solve it.
Yeah.
And there was always restrictions in terms of how much budget they had and how much money to do this. But within bounds, we would try and come up with the best solution.
Like a trusted partner.
A trusted partner, right? Yeah. And that's a great environment to feel that you work in as well. So that's good for our people, that's good for their people. But what's happened in tougher economic times, and you can understand why, right? Clients are under pressure, businesses are under pressure on their share price. People are making more short-term decisions, right? They're not making such smart long-term decisions. They become more like bankers. They just care about what's the P&L this year.
Or even this quarter.
Or even this quarter, right? Just take money off the bottom line for me. I'm not really thinking about what's best to grow my business in the long term. I'm not thinking about what's best for my brand. I just want to save money. Give me the money and I can go back to my boss and get a pat on the back for saving money. And it doesn't encourage the best work and the best approach. I mean, do you think that?
Yeah, it's almost like the old Princess Diana quote, you know, there are three of us in this marriage. It's you, the client, and procurement. And I think it's entirely understandable how the pressures on budgets and the pressures to perform, and the fact that media is generally, in most organisations, a pretty big line item, leads to a very procurement-driven approach where clients will talk a big strategic game, but then every 3 years, like Unilever does, go through a global review process that takes a year. So you can understand how that happens. And I think we have to accept that that's not going to go away.
For sure. It's definitely there, and it's going to continue.
That's here to stay. And I think so you've got that pressure on the one side. I think on the other side, you have the pressure of the whole kind of big data revolution, where clients are being told by everybody in the media and in their kind of trade press and their professional press that the role of the chief marketing officer is evolving in a completely new and different way, and it's no longer about ideas and creativity and innovation. It's all about data and analytics and insight driven from fact-based knowledge. And somehow the old way was wrong and the new way is right. And of course the reality is that's all sort of hyperbole. And it's got to be both. You know, people say, is it math men or mad men? As if those are two different alternative solutions. The fact is, if it's all mad men, it doesn't work because...
Yep, absolutely.
Because that's just shooting bullets in a darkened room. And if it's all math men, you turn all on the lights, then everybody can see the bullets coming. So you've got to have both. And I think the challenge for us as a business in that world of contradictory pressures, where it's about investment in data, it's about cutting costs for procurement, is navigating that way through, fundamentally comes down to growing new skills around stakeholder management for big clients. Because unless you can understand the agendas of all those different people and then find a way of making them coexist, we ain't going to deliver what they want us to deliver.
And some of it is about us making sure we can educate all those people about the decisions they're taking. They can't always fix it because they may be so short-term constrained that they can't do anything about it. But it is about us showing them where great work happens when it is that longer vision and it is a partnership, and we are doing that. You know, and there have been clients that we've worked with in the past where you can look at it and go, we did some really, really great stuff with that client because they got that. They understood that was the issue.
I guess Nike is,
Nike would be an
example.
example. Absolutely. And Gillette would have been another example where we worked with them and we did really groundbreaking stuff and moved their business forward.
Yeah.
And they recognised it as well as us.
Because I do think that having looked at the industry from the outside for many years is, I think, one of the things the media business has done partly to itself is it's commoditized by accepting lower and lower fees for the service, the commission-based structure, where you end up making clients believe that what you do is plug and play, take us out, plug somebody else in, and there's no difference because it's a commodity service, which I think was a crazy way of looking at the business. And I think thankfully now the world has got more complex, and the need to combine digital and innovation and ideas and data and analytics and buying and trading and just real-time bidding, and that makes a world where how anybody could describe that as commodity, I don't know. But the industry almost runs itself into
that only works, doesn't it, if you get a client that really understands all the different moving parts of our business. And that's the difference. Do they come just to buy a car because it looks pretty, or do they come to buy a car and want to understand all the parts of how it works?
Or in your case, how fast it goes. That's the single most important question.
There is that.
And I think that's I think what's bad about the industry is the sense that this is an industry that's about buying, because it's so not.
Yep.
It's so no longer about buying, and anybody who uses that language should be shot, because it's not what we do. It's an industry that's about managing a complex set of service deliverables which will vary wildly across different markets for international and global clients. And actually, I think a key part of our skill set going forward will be the ability to manage that complexity, because what my clients come to me regularly and say is, we're kind of sinking in this kind of mess of complex marketing dynamics and agencies, all of which can do this and can do that, and there's massive overlap between what people do.
Well, Nick's always said, right, part of what we want to do is be the spine and the backbone to help them organise, and we can work with all sorts of different partners, we're good at that, but somebody has to put in place that spine and that backbone to control what we're doing. And we're really good at that. We're really used to working with all sorts of different aspects, but looking at the whole approach of what we're trying to deliver.
And I think that's kind of key to how we position our future. It's about why should we be in the spine? It's because we're good at collaboration, because we're independent, we're solution neutral, and because we have a history of managing and understanding large amounts of data in what used to be our core business. And in the future, those three things are key to what the spine.
Yeah, they're going to be part of our strength going forward.
Yeah.
And clients that understand that and see us as that partner to help them navigate all that will get the real benefit out of us.
Exactly.
Right? They'll get the real benefit.
And then we need to take those great examples and show other clients to say, if you just think of us as a procurement managed buying shop, this is what you're missing. Yeah,
we can do that. But there's so much more if you're willing to sort of partner with and work with us and take advantage of what's there.
Absolutely.
Just a bigger offer.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about Mindshare, what does it really mean to me personally? I suppose my experience of it is the sort of strength of that sharing of knowledge and help and assistance that all of the offices and all of the people around the world give to each other.
Yeah.
So I think that builds something that we couldn't design, or we couldn't pay people to behave in that way. But that inner belief in Mindshare as a whole, as a global entity, that has a great value to us. And if you talk to people from outside and when you recruit people, they're really jealous of it. They're really jealous that we have this. We have built it from the bottom up, and they just don't know how they get that and achieve that.
Well, I think you can't, as you say, you can't buy it in. You can't create an online platform and go, we're now a sharing organisation because we have, a SharePoint system. It doesn't. People do it because they want to, not because they've been told to.
Yep.
They do it because it's in their DNA and that's how they operate. And I think what I've seen having in the last year and a half, there's a lot of people who've been here a very long time in an industry that's renowned for its turnover.
Yeah,
marketing
that's true,
services
actually.
generally.
The heads of a lot of our offices around the world
have
are founders. They're from the beginning.
Exactly. And so, the values that they've grown up with, they've retained and they've passed on, and then they've created their own organisations in that image. And so that's what makes it solid and firm and real and believable and something that will last, as opposed to something which, January 1 we go, right, we're now a sharing organisation, everybody send one thing to...
And I see it, I suppose, because I've worked in offices all over the world, right? I've worked in the North American office for the last couple of years, so I've been physically based there long term. I've worked in Mexico, I've worked in, Japan. I've been to so many of our original offices, all the big offices in Europe, all the big offices in Asia, and that same quality is in every single one of them.
Yeah.
There are differences, there are nuances, culture and everything else, but fundamentally that is always there in every office you go to. You always feel the same about it. It's not just about the colour of the logo and the look of the building. There's something in the culture that is always there.
And I think, we talked a bit earlier about the response to the results of the Unilever pitch. That's about sharing in the positives of the performance of the company as a whole, whether you were directly involved or not. But I also think that on the flip side, there's a sense of sharing the pain and sharing the difficult stuff. And actually, when you've got a difficult situation, or you're struggling, or there's you've got problems with a particular issue with a client, people are there to help. People will share the burden. People will help you solve it. And so I think it works both ways. There's a very much, and it's real because it does work both ways.
Do you think also the management of our company, because we've got people from all the different continents, we've got people who are senior client leads, we've got a group of us that come with all different bits of expertise, some of our specialists, someone like me, a CFO. There's a whole group of us. We've each got our own specialist skills, but we all come together to try and solve the biggest problems and design an approach to something. It's not something that one person does in a room, in a darkened room. It is very much a collaborative thing that we do.
And I think maybe that's the core meaning of share within Mindshare. It's collaborative ownership of everything, positive and negative.
Yeah, absolutely. We're in it together.